Why on God's green earth did I choose to go alone into the catacombs, you ask? Curiosity mostly, and a lot of questions I want answered. Who are these people? Why are they buried there? Can I touch them? How does it feel down there? Why are the skulls arranged in the shape of a heart? Come along with me to the dark underground maze of Paris. Let's rewind back a little bit. Last year, I went on a solo trip to Paris, and one of the first things I did was to book a ticket for the Parisian catacombs. It was dark, it was morbid, it was everything I wanted to see. And so, here are the 5 things I learned down in the Empire of Death. Tickets are super limited, and they do get sold out. So if you really want to see the catacombs in its dark glory, you'd better book in advance. It really depends on how crowded the city is when you visit. So try to book a month or 2 in advance if it's going to be high season. They only allow a maximum of 200 people down there every day. Historically, much of the city of Paris was built with limestone, excavated from stone quarries right underneath the city. They even worked in layers. Once a group of miners stopped in one quarry, another group came in later and continued mining right below at a deeper layer. This, as you can imagine, created some structural integrity issues within the city itself. It's basically sinkholes waiting to happen, which it finally did in 1774. A sinkhole spanning a quarter of a mile opened up in Rue d'Enfer, which is around Avenue d'Enfer Rochereau now. Because of this disaster, King Louis XVI then tasked a commission to survey and look into the state of the Parisian underground. The city itself was growing to be a metropolitan, but it's not until the 1700s that the overcrowding issue in the cemeteries became a major concern. Burials had been taking place in the city since the Middle Ages, and the living need some space to, live. It got so bad at one point that the bodies broke into a poor guy's cellar in 1780 after a long period of rainfall. Could you imagine going to your basement and seeing a bunch of rotting bodies collapsing through your walls? Traumatic. Other Parisians living near the cemetery were not faring so well either. It was reported that the food and wine at houses near the cemeteries went bad in just a matter of hours. There was just too much bacteria surrounding these last resting places. It probably got more and more restless, and the city had to do something about it. So after the collapse in 1780, they banned any burials from taking place inside the city. But what should they do about the remains that were already in there? In comes Lieutenant General Lenoir, the head of police who was tasked to create the municipal ossuary in 1786. He chose to create the ossuary in these abandoned stone quarries underneath the city. These mines had long since been disused, and Lieutenant Lenoir organized a workforce to move human remains from Cimetière des Innocents to the site. The bones were rounded up and moved in 1809 in covered wagons, and this project continued to other cemeteries and mass graves. So the part we call the catacombs is actually only a small section of these vast 300-kilometer long underground tunnels. Once the bones were relocated into the catacombs, it wasn't actually open to the public. The nobility, however, got super intrigued, and they also got special access and connections. Charles X, when he was still Count of Artois at the time, went there. Also, the Austrian Emperor François I went there, and eventually it was opened up to the public in 1809. Louis-Étienne Héricard de Thury, the inspector at the time, instructed his men to arrange the bones into artful decors. They moved it from plain old heaps of bones into circles, columns, and even a heart. At this time, they also created signs and flags to commemorate which cemeteries they got transferred from. Honestly, I think he's a marketing genius. I can't lie, I had a lot to think about after my journey to the Empire of Death. The only 2 things every single one of us will experience in this life is birth and death. Now, everyone will choose to get married, nor have kids, but everybody will die someday. I think most of us feel dread when we think about death, but seeing these piles of Parisians from the old times made me feel rather contemplative. Do you want to be remembered after death? What do you want to be remembered for? Or would you rather sit in the comfortable embrace of anonymity? I guess we all have a choice. But if I've learned anything from my visit, it is to be brave in taking action. Because we'll all be gone one day, and it would definitely suck to have regrets from inaction. The catacombs of Paris was an interesting insight to the history of the city. If you've ever visited the catacombs, let me know in the comments of what you think. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up, and I will see you in the next one.